Well, by this time tomorrow at 5:02 a.m., in fact, the precise moment of the solstice will have come and gone. From that moment on, at least until next June, the days will grow longer. The sun, now at its lowest point on the horizon, will begin its slow but steady rise, gifting to us more light with each passing day. It is a turning point, the small but significant shift in the ever ongoing turning of the wheel that causes this spinning world of ours to cycle through the seasons that give shape to life on the earth. So we arrive here at the great gate of winter as the earth dances with the sun, the star that gave us birth and still gives life to us all. You may have heard that the winter solstice isn't the only big moment taking place tomorrow in the sky above. Just after sunset tomorrow night, Saturn and Jupiter will come so close to one another, at least from our perspective here on Earth, that they will almost appear, especially without a telescope or one's eyeglasses, to be a large superstar of sorts. It saddens me deeply that the forecast predicts for us here in Toronto clouds. And it's sad because this event hasn't happened since 1623, and before that, the year 1226, which is to say that this isn't exactly something that happens every day. The rarity of the event is why it is called a great conjunction. This will actually be the first time humans will be able to see the coming together of these two planets through a telescope. Since the last time around, 397 years ago, telescopes weren't particularly advanced, and the Great Conjunction of 1623 wasn't visible from the parts of the planet where this newfangled invention existed at the time. Down through the ages, people have assigned meaning to these kinds of celestial events, some taking them to be omens, some trying to divine a message from the heavens. Even today, some are calling this conjunction the Christmas star and suggesting it was a similar alignment of the planets that was supposedly seen by the three wise men in the traditional telling of the story of Jesus' birth. Since I tend to take a much more poetic than historical interpretation of most anything found in the scriptures of any religion, this feels to me like astronomical hair splitting to try to prove a theological point. While this is a bridge too far for my own beliefs, I do very much appreciate the human impulse to look up to the heavens to find guidance or meaning, or, like those wise men of old trying to find their way to Bethlehem, reliable directions. Of course, the stars overhead have long functioned as a universal GPS system, helping people to navigate the surface of our planet by looking up above to the guidance provided by the stars. This is a point that Wade Davis, the anthropologist who teaches at UBC, made many years ago in his Massey lectures, which were titled Wayfinders: Why Ancient Wisdom Matters in the Modern World. Davis's study of indigenous cultures has led him to believe that we are at grave risk of losing vital parts of the vast archive of human cultural knowledge that has been passed down through the generations. He describes, as an example, a far-reaching Polynesian civilization that was in place some 3,000 years ago, scattered across many of the more than 1,000 islands in the central and southern Pacific Ocean. The people of that time and place traveled between the islands, crossing enormous distances of hundreds of kilometers in great seafaring canoes that could be up to 20 meters long and 7 meters wide. Instead of a GPS or a detailed map, they depended on the wisdom of those who went before them in order to find their way. Lessons passed down from the elders taught them how to navigate in the open seas. Lessons such as these that Davis describes: that clouds provide clues to the wayfinder, their shape, color, character, and placement in the sky. that light can be studied, the rainbow colors at the edge of stars, the way they twinkle and dim with an impending storm, the tone of the sky over an island, always darker than that over open sea, that a halo around the moon foreshadows rain, for it is caused by light shining through ice crystals of clouds laden with moisture, that the number of stars within the halo anticipates the intensity of the storm. If there are fewer than 10, expect trouble, high winds, and torrential rain. And if a double halo surrounds the moon, the weather will move in on wings of a gale. He goes on to say that such signs aren't only to be found by looking to the heavens, but can be found here below too if we know where to look. Other signs are found in wildlife and what he calls sea marks as opposed to landmarks. Dolphins and porpoises swimming toward sheltered waters herald a storm, while the flight of a frigate bird heading out to sea anticipates calm. Pelagic birds like the albatross lead nowhere, but others, such as petrels and terns, travel fixed distances from their nests, returning every night to land, rising out of the waves at sunset, their flight paths home as precise as compass bearings. To travel at night, these ancient wayfinders would depend on their knowledge of the predictable but changing placement of the stars in the firmament. Knowing where a particular star rose in the east and where it set in the west gave these sailors a set of compass points, points that helped them to get their bearings, to know where they were at and where they were going. Sadly, such deep-seated knowledge is largely lost to so many of us in the modern world. Sure, our scientists have helped us to map out much of our corner of the universe, but our technical knowledge is something different than having an understanding that's been gained through a deeply felt dependence on the stars when we're just trying to find our way home. What Wade Davis argues is that for all of our technological advances, we are impoverished without this deeper way of knowing the world. I take in a similar truth from David Wagner's story of a poem really, titled The Silence of the Stars, in which he tells the story of Laurens van der Post, the South Afrikaner writer and farmer, and his experience in southwestern Africa. Here's how Wagner's poem describes the situation. When Laurens van der Post, one night in the Kalahari Desert, told the Bushmen he couldn't hear the stars singing, they didn't believe him. They looked at him half smiling. They examined his face to see whether he was joking or deceiving them. Then two of those small men who plant nothing, who have almost nothing to hunt, who live on almost nothing, and with no one but themselves, led him away from the crackling thorn scrub fire and stood with him under the night sky and listened. One of them whispered, "Do you not hear them now?" And van der Post listened, not wanting to disbelieve, but had to answer no. They walked him slowly, like a sick man, to the small dim circle of firelight and told him that they were terribly sorry. And he felt even sorrier for himself and blamed his ancestors for their strange loss of hearing, which was his loss now. On some nights when nearby houses have turned off their televisions, when the traffic dwindles, when through streets are between sirens and the jets overhead are between crossings, when the wind is hanging fire in the fir trees, I look at the stars again as I first did, to school myself in the names of constellations, and remember my first sense of their terrible distance. I can still hear what I thought at the edge of silence, where the inside jokes of my heartbeat, my arterial traffic, the sea above high sea of my inner ear, myself tunelessly humming. But now I know what they are. My fair share of the music of the spheres and clusters of ripening stars, of the songs from the throats of the old gods, still tending even tone-deaf creatures through their exiles in the desert. Dare I ask, my fellow travelers, whether you yourself know anything of this song, whether you can hear the singing of the stars? What signs and wonders do you behold in the night sky? And just where do you turn to get your bearings when you are not sure of which way to go? These are, I believe, deeply spiritual questions, for they seek to know whether we are truly connected to the earth, to the universe, to the force of life itself that across billions of years has brought each one of us into being. We moderns pay a great price to ourselves and the planet to live as we do. The Bushmen of the Kalahari would surely pity our poverty too. That is why the older I get, the more important solstice becomes for me. It is a sacred time that invites me to renew my relationship with the universe, that calls me to ever deepening connection with the web of life as understood in its widest possible frame. That's the gift that I took from the meditation words from Sheila Shu, an invitation for us to understand who we really are, to know ourselves as children of the universe. Sure, this may be a lesson we likely learned in a technical way in a high school science class. But our task in this season, and I would suggest in this life, is to learn this lesson on a deeper level and on the vastest possible scale. Your breath began long ago, before there were lungs and before there were trees. Your breath began in the darkness of gases that hung a long, long sky from your song. Your bones are the bones of your ancestors, and before them, calcium in the seas. Your bones have been shaped in the darkness of wombs, and long before, in matter flung far from your fingertips. Your blood began in the flow of seas, dark and rough. Before your tears, there was rain, and before your blood, veins and springs and storms and the primordial deep, way deeper than your pulse. Your curiosity began as lightning across the sky, and your very nerves and every thought, every signal, the descendants of explosions and cosmic firings. Your insight and every movement, ancient energies that acted long before your smiling. All of which is to say that the stars that fill the sky are our ancestors. We are descended from the heavens. We are of stardust made. This is, of course, true of everyone and everything we know, every last speck of the universe that surrounds us. But there is something about taking in this truth that can change the way we understand ourselves, one another, and the delicate gift of life bestowed to us at birth, that we are blessed and burdened to serve and to sustain with all of our being. So may we learn to study the skies, that we may find our bearings in this wide universe and come to more deeply honor life on this, our blue boat home. The hymn that we will sing to close this morning's service was inspired by our scene from Robert Heinlein's science fiction classic, The Green Hills of Earth, in which a blind poet on a spaceship composes a ballad of yearning for one more landing on the globe that gave us birth. His song ends, "May we rest our eyes on the fleecy skies and the cool green hills of Earth." That poignant image was set to music and now lives in our hymnal as an affirmation of our seventh principle that calls us to respect the interdependent web of life of which we are a part. Whether we find ourselves looking up at the stars or somehow looking down from a spaceship back to the earth, may we not fail to grasp the message, to see the signs, to take in the one and only omen that there really ever has been, that as children of the universe, we are all in this together, just as we always have been. Let us then endeavor always to dwell together in peace, this day and every day. Blessed be.